Hey, Adam.
Yep.
What you know about this?
Oh. I like this. Come on now. I'm Adam Manis.
And I'm Peter Martin.
And you're listening to the You'll Hear It podcast.
Music Explored.
Explored, brought to you by Open Studio. Go to openstudiojazz.com for your jazz lesson needs. Peter.
Yes. Are you ready to travel back in time?
I didn't know we were doing this today. This is exciting. This is some real music right here.
I wanted to surprise you a little bit. We're going back to a time called the 80s. Shoulder pads.
Man, I am stoked.
Gordon Gecko. Wynton Marsalis. Horn rim glasses.
Hold on a second.
Those are things I think about as far as the 80s, right? No?
Is Michael Douglas on this record?
Michael Douglas, yes. He could have been. I'm excited. I'm pumped up, baby.
Yeah, so today we are listening to Wynton Marsalis' 1985 seminal recording, Black Codes from the Underground. Peter, this might be the album of the decade for the 1980s, as far as hardcore jazz fans are concerned.
Right. Are we going to be making that judgment today?
No, we don't necessarily have to put a pin in that and really lock that down. But I can't think of another album from this decade that has probably been more influential on the people that came after it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The playing on it really, I think, made the avant-garde in the 90s what it was. Like the straight ahead spurners, what they were, which is funny because I'm not sure if that's what the intention was for this album at all.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, but I mean, certainly we've talked to many people, many younger musicians younger than us, who list this as one of their main influences.
Right. But it's a little bit of an unusual thing because all that's true what you just said. But at the same time, I feel like it's not a record that's talked about a lot, not like continually. It's not sort of in the zeitgeist of great jazz albums of the last 40 years, I would
Which is
say.
weird. I feel like, well, it is in a certain circle, but you're right. In general, in like the general jazz media, it's maybe not talked about enough.
Yeah, maybe not.
Yeah.
And, which maybe we'll get into a little bit, some of the primary actors in this recording, namely Wynton Marsalis, I would say.
Sorry, I thought you were going to say again, Michael Douglas, Charlie Sheen.
Right. No, I mean, some of the primary players on this record think it's of questionable, like, not artistic merit, but like, I know Wynton has talked about that he doesn't think it's as important of a record of his output as many others think that it is. And he doesn't even think it's his top 5 or top 10, I mean,
this is a whole other discussion. Like, does he have a say in that? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, how can you be objective about your own?
Yeah, it's hard to be objective, but also like, kind of the people are speaking.
Right.
They love this, so.
Right. Well, it was a hugely influential album for me because of the timing of hearing it and just my love of the sound. And it's really one of those records that made me want to play this music. I was already playing the piano and I was already playing jazz.
You were 14 probably?
I was 14 years old, yeah.
This hit you right in the gut, didn't it? Like
that's an impressionable age. It can be, or it can just be an age where you're zoning out.
And also when I think of this record, I think of it as having like a very aggressive, youthful spirit. Weren't a lot of these cats teenagers at the time that they made
Well, I know
this?
Charnette Moffett, who played bass on almost the whole record, was like 16 years old.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if he was 16 when he made this record, but when I first heard him play around the corner from here, and he's playing in Wynton's band, he was 16 or 17.
Tane had to be a kid too.
Tane was actually a little older than Wynton, I believe.
Are you serious?
I believe so,
I thought he was younger.
Or around the same age, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, they're all in their 20s, like early 20s or whatever. I think Wynton is, if I was 14, he was probably 23 or something.
Oh my gosh.
24.
Wow. And so
Branford's like a year older than him.
And Tane's around that age too?
Yeah, I think so.
So the personnel
Kenny
in this
Kirkland's
record,
a little bit older. Well, was a little bit older.
He's
He's still
a little
young,
older.
30 or whatever he was.
So the personnel is ridiculous. It's Wynton Marsalis on the trumpet, Branford Marsalis on the tenor saxophone and soprano saxophone, Kenny Kirkland on the piano.
Yes.
Charnette Moffett on the double bass is what it's listed as. Jeff Tane Watts on the drums. And then Ron Carter on the bass on Oral or Oasis.
Super interesting that he was brought in on that particular track.
Yeah.
But I think if we listen to any of that, it'll be a little bit.
And these were all Wynton's compositions besides Chambers of Tane. Is that right?
I think everything is. Who's Chambers by Tane?
I think that's Kenny Kirkland. It's
is that
here,
okay?
yeah.
Right, that's right. Exactly. And then there's this kind of weird last track, which we may or may not listen to, Blues, which is a blues. But anyway, I don't know. We'll see if we get to that. Because I've always felt like that's the one thing that doesn't fit on this record. I don't know if it was put on for time or maybe for a CD. This was right around the time. And did I get this on LP or CD? I can't remember. I think I got it on CD. I think that was put on to flesh it out to be long enough for a CD and make, because that was when CDs came out. Part of the thing was that they could go up to like 63 minutes.
They were doing that back then. They were really flexing on that.
Yeah. And what is this? 51 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That probably wanted to get it over the threshold, but it's fine. It's just a duo with Wynton and Charnett playing a little bit of blues for a couple minutes. But should we get right? Oh, we are rating this album. Wow. Why do I bang it that hard?
So we have this is again our list that's been approved by MIT and by engineers at Red Bull Racing.
And it's been run by our attorneys in South Louisiana, DeBossier
and DeBossier.
Esquire.
Yeah. So they've all three of those institutions have had a hand in making this rating system. There are 10 categories, and each one is worth 10 points. We have categories for vibe, playing, compositions, sound, sequence, cover art, title, lore, stank face-o-meter, and is it better than Kind of Blue?
Now, these categories may seem a little bit random and incongruent and unequal, and you may be right, but they are our 10 categories, and they get 10 points each. So there you go.
What's been astonishing?
Come up with your own.
What's been astonishing, Peter, as we've been doing this series, is how after we are done with these, let's face it, BS categories that we came up with.
Hey.
But this was not like a super well thought out thing. But I have felt like all of my total scores at the end of listening to records are actually like pretty accurate reflections on my feelings about the album. I'm amazed, actually. So it is a little bit of a litmus test of how we feel.
Right. And a quick caveat as we're developing this series, what makes this album great to us, I think is the way we would put this. And I think, isn't that what you mean by saying that the final score is how you feel about the record, not what you think qualitatively or how it ranks in sort of the pantheon of great jazz albums, but just kind of where it hits you. And like, in other words, a lower score, the way I look at it is if it comes out to a lower score and I'm like, yeah, it's not something I put on a lot to listen. I don't dislike the record or think it's low quality. It may be an amazing record, but it doesn't have that resonance maybe like a 96 or 97 or 98.
Right. And usually it's for like personal, sentimental, like songs in the key of
biased.
Life hit us because like we fell in love with that album when we were young.
But that's a great one anyway. That's objectively great record.
But yeah, it is super subjective, except for my scores, which are, I think, pretty much spot on to reality.
Well, they're all spot on. It's just a matter of where they come from. So let's get into it. But actually, let's take a look at the album cover. We usually do that later, but this might be fun to frame. Hey,
what a great cover.
I got some trivia and lore on that record.
Man, remember those desks?
Yes.
Man, I used to drive people crazy banging on those desks. The bottom of the desk would resonate like a drum.
Right, because it was one continuous piece of iron or steel or whatever.
That was crazy.
Aluminium.
And then it would have a little slot at the top of it where your pencil would go.
And those big bolts underneath it, that wooden thing with a bunch of gums shoved up under there.
Yeah, and you would totally wreck your knee as you were getting in and out of it. Yeah, totally.
Right. Okay. Should I leave it up or no?
Yeah, leave it up.
Okay, we're going to leave it
cover.
Up.
So look at that compact disc in the lower right.
That's right.
They really wanted you to know.
Yeah, I think this was right around the time compact discs were coming out, so that would make sense with that. Okay, we're going to listen from the beginning to Black Codes, which is the first composition.
I mean, already. First few seconds.
It's making a statement. Little Kenny Kirkland clusters there. This is a very digital sound. Forgot about that. Check this out. Sorry, I just have to stop that and play that again. Do you hear the precision that Wynton and Branford are executing?
Dude.
There might have been some editing. This album is heavily edited. I do know that. I don't know that, but I'm pretty sure about that. But regardless, like that's some beautiful playing. Check out this one. Phrasing.
Good gravy. That's as good as it gets, man.
That's pretty good, right?
Jeez.
Great segue.
Golly.
But this way that Tane is playing, this became so influential to this day. And you know, he's got the Tony influence and maybe to a lesser degree Elvin. But it's very much influenced by how Kenny Kirkland's comping. Like Jeff Watts has such big ears. And the way that they build up the tension, this rolling. I can just see Jeff Watts, Kenny Kirkland.
Man, Wynton's sound.
The reverb on the toms and stuff. Broken up, broken. But so much of that Phrygian sound, because it keeps coming around to that in the form, gives it that. Woo! A lot of range, a lot of dynamic range on this.
That's a great solo. That's a great solo from Wynton.
Yeah. Then here, Brian.
Branford on the soprano.
What's that bass sound? Bing. Branford's, I think, a little more exploratory, adventurous than Wynton in terms of like his approach to soloing at this point, which is interesting. It is different, you know.
Can't hear a word you're saying, Peter.
Oh, sorry.
Dude, I'm locked in.
I'm sorry, my bad. I'll shut up.
No. Man, just the interplay between Branford and Kenny Kirkland and Jeff Watts.
Yeah.
It's just as good as it gets.
Yeah, I mean, Wynton's solo was amazing, but Branford's a little, like, from the very beginning of his solo, he's interacting. Like, he's picking up his whole first phrase is coming out of what Kenny Kirkland's
doing. It just turns it into this hurricane of ideas.
Yeah. This is interesting when they go to the walking here. And then here. Very Kenny-ish.
You know how they sell things in Instagram ads for your jaw? So you like chew on this thing to flex your face muscles?
Uh-huh.
They should just sell this album. Because the whole time I'm like,
Right. Yeah, the snake
my
face
jaw's
meter.
clenched,
A little bit of foreshadowing for
damn.
that. That's like the patented Kenny stuff.
Oh, what he just played? That's something Brad Mehldau would play late 90s. Interesting.
So are you saying Kenny Kirkland was checking out early Brad Mehldau?
Nope.
This next
I wonder
stuff,
if that's a direct influence, though, you know?
this stuff Tane and Kenny do. Rhythmic phrasing nuances. It's a very interesting ending.
Yeah.
And then I love that. You know, like when the conductor's like, dum, dum.
Wow.
Quite a bit of hats on the end, though.
I mean, it's a lot. It is a maximalist piece of art, that opening track.
It is.
There is so much going on. It works for it. It's chaotic. It's beautiful. It's energetic. It's got this like youthfulness to it for sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The playing is it's just all of it, man. Dang.
Yeah, it's a very it to me it's like a combination. It's coming in hot, obviously. Yeah. It's hitting you over the head. It's like we're here, we're coming at you, but then there's like the empathy of the way they play together, especially Kenny Kirkland and Jeff Watts. I mean Charnett, everybody, Branford, Wynton, but like there's certain ways that they're linked up that's so human that it kind of tempers the hotness of it in a lot of ways, and there's like little tender things that are happening. So it's definitely something. I mean, I used to listen to this record nonstop, so I know a lot of the nuances and stuff. And it's the kind of thing that is different the more you listen to it because you get inside of these specific things. The first impression on it, in terms of starting out the record, can be a lot, you know. And it's kind of, you know, I think all these records, that's what's been fun for me. And I think there's different ways to look at it when we get to sequence. But the first song and the last song, especially on an album, on any jazz album, but something that potentially you could be rewarded for listening to from the beginning to the end, I think are the most important.
Agreed. Agreed.
So how this comes in, it just depends on to some people it's like, ew, yuck, jazz. I don't know.
I think for album sequence, having grown up, we both grew up in like the album era. Like there needs to be a flow between the first song, really the first and second song set it up, right? Those are the setup songs, both of them together. Like it's like the pair of the first two, those are what introduce you to the tone of the record. Usually this is not every case, but.
And that's what's going to decide if you're going to keep listening. Let's be honest.
And it's usually tracks 3 through 5, or even sometimes 3 through 6 that I feel like are like the soul of a record. Like those are the soul of an album. Those are usually where, in the old days, you would put like your killer tracks, right? That's where like the real like hits would be sometimes, if not the first track. And then when you sort of like come out of those 3 through 5, let's say you have, in this case, 7 tracks, the 6, 7, 8 spots, and maybe that last spot are, I think, ways to like, usually to me, especially if I'm sequencing my own album, those are ways to like, how do I want to leave the listener from this experience? Like, where do I want to leave them from this? And that includes like the last track and the second to last track, I think. Like setting them up to leave the room, essentially.
Right, exactly. And I would almost consider this a 6-track album. And we'll talk about that a little more when we do listen to the last track, at least a little bit, because I really feel like that's out of place, like the last track, whatever. But let's listen to a little bit of the second track, because this is a very unique thing. I mean, we talk about coming in hot and just the density, the amount of music and improvisation and going back and forth, and so many crazy things happening on that first track. And you're mentioning the first and the second being so important. This decision of the direction, in terms of pacing and texture is very interesting. This is for We Folks.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Starting vibrato, real pretty chords, and then go into this very simple, beautiful groove. So I just want to make note of one thing. Sorry, go listen to this record, you guys, without our useless drivel and getting in the way. But this is almost like so smooth. I think there was some interesting decisions with the arrangement. When they're going down, they're playing in unison. But then I don't know if Wynton wrote it like this or Branford just grabbed this for the harmony. They're putting a little bit of like crunchiness in there, some minor seconds and stuff. To me, it's almost like wanting it to not be too smooth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything is so beautiful at the beginning, and like the way they play together. When they play in unison or even in octaves, it's almost, you can almost not tell that it sounds like one instrument.
Yeah.
And so I think that it's a really crafty thing to do in terms of the arrangement or the composition. Even when they're playing those major seconds, you know, what would they go? Unison.
Yeah. A little crunch.
And their intonation is so good. Woo. But the way Branford harmonizes is brilliant. Certainly influenced by Miles Davis and Wayne Shorter, the way they would do some things. But this is just so pretty and like smooth, right? harmony. Patient. Mu chord. Check out Kenny. And then Branford.
Beautiful. Wow. Yeah, it's really all the like Wynton and Branford, amazing. But for me, what really puts this over the top is that relationship between the piano and the drums.
Yeah.
Like their vibe together, Kenny Kirkland and Jeff Watts, is like, that's all-time great pairing.
Yes.
And it's not like, you know, piano and drums always has like a special relationship when we play together, but I mean, this might be the best 1-2 punch
It's fantastic.
in music.
Yeah. And there's so much, like, it's very busy. And the drums are very...
But it works so well.
But it works so well.
Yeah.
Like, to be that busy behind when you're comping, you have to be dialed in on that conversation.
Yeah, for sure.
Which they are. And Wynton, and especially Branford, so well at responding off of that. Wynton, too. I mean, Wynton's kind of floating above it with just his beautiful stuff. I think we have a really good Kenny Kirkland solo here, too.
Did you ever meet Kenny Kirkland?
Mm-hmm.
Did you really? Did you talk to
Kenny
him?
Kirkland?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Starting in that upper register.
Man, he's such a great, you can hear the influence of McCoy, you can hear the influence of Herbie on his playing, but he's done his own.
Yes.
It's his own work on that.
Yeah.
You know? There's probably some other people in there that I'm not hearing too that are direct influences on him.
But this kind of approach was really influenced on Jeff Watts. Like that kind of rhythmic displacement. That kind of those triplets. I mean, you can feel it. Herbie, obviously. Left hand.
a nice trill there.
And a master of going between those 16th note double time lines and the triplet displacement stuff. A little move there, a little move.
Yeah, any young player that wants to get a handle on like the basis of modern phrasing, I think you could start here.
Yeah.
You would really start with Kenny on
Yeah.
Black Codes from the Underground.
Should we? Man, the way they play that together. I mean, it's a lot of verb on it and a lot of like audio affectation in the digital age, but it's
Peter,
so good.
Let's talk scores here. So
Okay.
playing for this, I've got a 10 for playing. I think everybody's playing their asses off on this. I think it's as good as it gets playing wise.
Interesting. Okay.
For soloing and for comping. And really, it's, like I said, put over the top by Kenny Kirkland and Jeff Watts. But Wynton and Branford, their sound, their ideas, you know, like you mentioned, Branford's interaction, but Wynton's like lead on the phrasing. I love this style of Wynton. And I know that's controversial.
No, not at all.
But I like
Not at all.
this
I think a lot of
Wynton.
people.
And I don't know, you know, he doesn't really do a lot of this kind of stuff anymore, but
Right.
a little bit, but like this is so good.
Interesting. So I have not. I was
got a
back,
bunch of scribbles.
Look how many times.
I
have
know.
9 or
Look
8.
at that.
I do not have 10 for sure.
I have 10.
and I'm waffling between 9 or 8. And even though I think I love this playing as much as you, I mean, Kenny Kirkland pushes it over the edge to me.
Yeah.
Although I wouldn't say this is the best. This is probably at the highest level, but it's not above other Kenny Kirkland's. He wasn't heavily recorded. That's an interesting thing.
It's a shame. This is one of his most like where you get to hear a lot. One of the most of him.
Right, but I think like his playing on the Hot House Flowers, which was I believe the next record or 2 records after this, is as good if not better. I can't even say better. It's just personal preference. I mean, this is a high. It doesn't get any better than this for him. But there's a bunch of records. Songbook, which is a little bit later into the '90s with the Kenny Garrett. I think Kenny Kirkland's playing on there might have hit a certain level.
We got to do Songbook at some point. Yeah,
might have even hit that next level. So that's why it's weird. I think I'm going to go 8. Oddly enough, on this. Because I think that Wynton, I love his playing on here, but a couple years after this, he was still playing this. I mean, he's always been playing, I think, this style. One thing about Wynton is like you can hear it's him.
Yeah, it's Wynton,
He's always been him. But I feel like he progressed, not like technically he's always been off the charts. I mean, off the charts as, I mean, you ask any classical or jazz or concert band trumpet player, like he's the one they bow down to.
Yeah, of course.
In a way that I don't even know what you would compare him to for pianists with that. I mean, it's hard, like because he's so well loved
Keith,
and
maybe?
respected. Maybe
Not even that,
Maybe
though.
and maybe Chick. I mean, yeah. I mean, but Keith more than Herbie or Chick. I don't know. But like Wynton kind of has this place on the Mount Rushmore that Clifford Brown is the only other one that you hear people talk about. But having said that, I do think that his playing progressed more. Branford's did too, but Branford's already playing amazingly. So. And then that blues at the end to me, I already know what's coming. I'm not a fan of that tune. Even back then I wasn't. So like that, if we're going to be honest, that's got to knock it down a little bit, doesn't it? I can't ignore that track.
I mean, we should call Wynton. Tell him.
I think I did tell him that.
Tell him you're playing an 8 on this, buddy.
No. His play is not. I'm saying when you take the totality of that, if we stopped it right there,
B
I'd probably
plus might as well be an
9 or
F.
10.
Peter Martin, 2023.
That's Kelly Martin. Okay, so why don't do we want to go on to like the next ones, or we want to listen a little more?
Well, let's do a couple more categories here. So
Okay.
vibe, I've got an 8 for vibe.
I've got an 8 for vibe.
Yeah, it's a great vibe, and the vibe is very clear. Just those first 2 compositions, you get a great sense of artistically what's happening here.
Yeah. To be honest, I could have easily gone 10 on vibe. I could have gone 10 on everything. But what I'm trying to do is be a little bit objective. Like, because I want to separate the 14-year-old that first heard this. When you are at that impactful, when the album is so personally impactful to you and you listen to it so much at that time, you've got to step back at a certain point and like just think about it as a recording, not just what it did to you personally. You know what I mean? It's kind of like if you're part of a record and you make a couple $1 million off it because you wrote a song on it. It's a hit.
happens all the
It's
time.
going to be the greatest ever, right? Because of what it did to your bank account. So this album is like, for impact on Peter Martin is 100 out of 100. I can already tell you.
Yeah.
But in terms of what makes this album great, I'm trying to be a little more. So I may be going a little low on this.
Okay.
Because I love the vibe.
And then compositions, I have an 8.
I have an A2.
Okay.
I have an
that's
A2.
fair. Cool. Let's go on to the next track. What do we
Okay, Delphio's Dilemma. So these next two tunes, maybe we'll just listen to, I don't know if we're going to listen to the whole thing.
got? Let's listen to the next two tunes and see where we are.
Oh,
Because the next two tunes are great tunes.
Another reason I went down just a little bit on the playing is I feel like those first two tracks, and this might have been because they're trying to flesh it out and make them long, the solos are a little long.
So those are a little long.
You know what I mean?
I agree with
And
that.
not because the playing wasn't great in them, but like they went on longer than they needed to.
You've convinced me. I always have to
I'm
go
not trying
down
to-
one.
No.
I don't love giving 10s anyway because it's like if everything's a 10, nothing's a 10.
No, but if I listen to this record and don't say that's a 10, that's a little weird too.
I'm going 9.
I'm
which
nitpicking.
Which
I'm
is still
nitpicking.
more than you because I like this record more than you. But okay.
You like the playing on
let's
this
listen
record more than me.
to
Delphio's Dilemma?
Delphio's Dilemma and
Name
then
for-
Frizinian Man.
Frizinian Man,
Yeah.
yeah. That might be my favorite track on it.
Frizinian Man's killing.
And I would just say that it's track 3 or 4, Delphio's Dilemma, Frizinian Man. I also feel like could have gone as the first tracks. Oh, you getting a little tired? You tired of me talking, buddy? You got a little yawning in the house. Look at that. Let's go close up.
This has been a long.
You know why?
It's been a lot
because
of
I'm
podcasting.
drinking caffeine. You're drinking something
I
less than
got the
less than
decaffeinated
manly over there.
red tea. What?
Oh, sorry.
The decaffeinated red
That woke
tea.
him up. All right, we're gonna listen to a little Delphio's Dilemma.
Ah. Producer Caleb's over playing drums to this.
Yeah. Woo!
Hey.
That fill that Jeff Watts just did,
Dude.
that was study that, drummers.
Come on now.
Fun fact, there's a 3/4 bar, I believe, in this tune. 3/4. Boom, right there. That's fun. I mean, this is Wynton. This is classic
man.
Wynton.
So good.
Playing simple stuff, swinging, floating, killing tone, command. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. It's a little awkward, actually. Check out Kenny's comping here. Boom, boom.
Ah.
1, 2, 3. Was that it? I think. Kenny. He's like a cat pouncing. Maybe they missed it. Oh, here it is. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. That's for musicians. Listener doesn't, the GP doesn't care about that. Jazz.
They are on the front foot too at the time.
Yeah.
For sure. So Charna I'm off at 16.
Something like that.
16,
16 or
17.
17. This is another solo. This is going on a little long. As good as it is. It's great stuff, though.
Hey, man. Come on.
That's a good solo.
That's an 8.
But couldn't it have truncated?
No, it's perfect.
Perfect?
Perfect.
Oh, really? You don't have perfect score. Check this out when Branford plays here. Oh.
Hey.
Oh, that's
on
a
now.
lot. Ha. Branford's having some horn issues on this, so like, it didn't bother him though. Okay, edit. I'm not a fan of that. Do you hear that edit?
Yeah, that was a big edit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How you liking this though?
Dude.
Sorry, did I?
This is so good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Sorry, I took it back a little. I think. Man, Kenny's playing is so stylized, right?
Man, don't you have a video on this solo?
Not this one, but yeah,
Yeah, I thought
a couple of the solos, maybe. How do you feel about that 3/4 bar? I used to think it was cool. It's a little jarring, right? Yeah? No? Thumbs up, thumbs up. I don't think it needs it, right? But there was a lot of insider stuff on this.
so good. So Peter,
Very
what do you have for sound on this one?
So I have an 8,
I also have an 8.
and I could easily go 7 even.
Yeah, I almost had 7.
But this is another one that like I loved the sound so much when it came out.
Yeah.
And it's so, I mean, it defined this era.
Imagine if this was recorded, this album, music as it is, recorded in like 1966 or 5 or something like that, right around the Miles Never TD era.
We would consider that a better, more analog, warmer sound. But you got to remember the time.
I think
like,
it would be considered more of a classic album if it were in that era. Like
Interesting.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. But the thing was like this was just like the clothes, like the fashion of the sound.
This was the fashion of the sound.
And with CDs, there was such a push for, I mean, this was a digital, I'm sure this was digitally recorded.
It's not bad at all.
No.
It's really
but
good.
Early digital was like, I can't remember if the bit rate was low or whatever. It was cleaner than they had intended. Like there was such a push towards clarity and cleanliness, and there were certain things with dynamic range and just the warmness of the sound. They thought they were getting better, closer than with analog, which in turn which in fact that they probably weren't. I might be speaking out of mind. They obviously this was digitally released on CD. It could have been still recorded analog, because I remember recording some records in the early 90s still on analog tape, but then of course it never went to an album. So I don't know what I'm talking about, but I can say that like the sound on this and hearing it now, there's a few unnatural things that I'm not crazy about. I think the piano sound is great, but I love Kenny Kirkland, sue me. So I like almost anything. The piano's great. It's really well recorded. I think the drums, they're so They're a little bit separate from the rhythm section that's so out front. It's so wide.
Agreed.
You know, but which is great. Of course, who doesn't want to hear everything that Jeff Watts is playing? But it's, you know, and the toms, like there's separate, it almost sounds like separate reverb on the different parts of the drums, which is cool, but it gives it a little bit of an unnatural sound. But again, that was the fashion of the time. Wynton's sound is just perfect like his tone is, but maybe a little more grit or I don't know, something. But it's really good. I mean, I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah.
I'm not crazy about the, like, there's with the edits and stuff, there's this going after a certain cleanness with everything. Like you can hear a perfection in that, which is exciting and exhilarating. But Branford and Wynton could play all that stuff pretty much perfectly together anyway. Right. So I don't know. Maybe they did. Maybe actually this is all done in one take, but it doesn't sound like it sometimes. And I think that's on the sound, not the players.
Branford or Wynton, hit us up. Let us know.
Yeah, right.
What about the sequence, Peter? I have a 7.
Yeah, I have an 8 because, well, tell me why you have a 7.
Well, I have a 7 because I feel like I could come up with a better sequence for these tracks. I love these tracks, but yeah, I feel like
rearranging them.
I could rearrange it for a better experience. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the next track, either Delphi's Dilemma or Fresenian Man, I would put first, actually. But having said that, what a wonderful, bombastic, and beautiful entrance Black Coats was.
For sure.
And in fact, I really like the sequence, but I'm so used to it. Everything except for the last one. That's why I took off 2 points on the sequence. I might have even gone 10 or 9, but because of the blues at the end that I'm not a fan of.
And then cover art. I have a 9 for the cover art.
I have a 10 on this, actually.
It's really good. Let's check that out again.
So
it's so good.
that is Jason Marsalis,
youngest brother
of a young Jason. Jason's like 45-year-old dude or whatever he is now, which is fun to think about that. And that was at the New Orleans Center for the Creative Arts, uptown, I believe, on Perrier Street in New Orleans, where Wynton and Branford, and I think Jason did, and Delphi, many of them, and where Ellis Marsalis taught. That was the original NOCA. Now it's in Bywater on the other side of town, but that was the original building, the old Lusher Elementary School building, I believe, where they did that photo shoot. So that's all authentic. That's not recreated in any sounds.
It's an incredible cover. Yeah. Incredible composition, beautiful like color palette, the use of the negative space. It's great. It's great.
And then title, what do you have for that? Because there's a whole story behind this.
I've got a 9 for the title as well.
Okay, I've got a 10. You know what?
I could have gone 10 for the title, but I gave it a 9.
I think I'm going to go 9 too. That makes sense. I mean, it's a great title. Again, how do you separate it from the sound, from the album, from what it is? It's great. It's an intriguing title. That's a cool thing about it.
For sure.
The lore.
I have 8 because I don't really know much about the lore. You know.
So some of the lore is like I just sort of talked about on the album. I put a 9 because it's so important to me, this album.
I know. The only reason I put it even so high with 8, because I don't really know the history of the recording or anything, is just the impact that it's had on a lot of great players that I know.
Yeah, it was kind of a cultural phenomenon because this record came out, I think it got 2 or 3 Grammys. I think Wynton had won some Grammys before. Maybe it was in line with this when he got the classical Grammy. I believe that was the same year, this year, where he won a classical Grammy and a jazz Grammy at the same time.
Amazing.
Which I don't think it had ever been done, and it was legit. I mean, I'm sure there were other great jazz records during that time, but his recording of the Haydn and Humble Trumpet Concertos, which is on CBS, Columbia as well, with Raymond Lepard and I think it was the English Chamber Orchestra or something. Was like a lot of classical aficionados say that like that's the gold standard for, the Haydn Trumpet Concerto, which is kind of the best trumpet classical piece, or it's the one that they rally around. So the fact that he did that, and I might be out of order because that might have been the record before this that he did think of one, but this won Grammys too. So like it was a time when like and he played on the Grammys like classical and jazz in the main broadcast for like 10 minutes. So like it was a whole thing. So this record really had an impact. I think it's had such a big impact of musicians of around this time. You talk about your Kenny Garretts and stuff. Does Kenny Garrett make songbook if there hadn't been a Black Coats from the Underground?
I mean, you can say that about 100 albums after this.
Yeah, so that's why I pushed the lore up.
I agree with that.
I don't know that there's anything crazy about the record session or anything like that, but sometimes it's that impact afterwards.
And then Stank Face-O-Meter, I've got a 10 out of 10. This is just, my face can't not stank up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I've got a 9 because my face stopped stanking up on the last track.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, no, I mean, Stank Face-O-Meter 9, I still consider that very high. And yeah, I mean, this is an amazing record. Why don't we listen to just a little more? We're not going to listen to the last track, because I'm not a hater, and I feel bad now for even
Can
saying
we just
it.
maybe listen to Chambers Attain?
We could do that. Yeah,
let's do
let's
that.
listen to that. You know what? No, we're going to listen to a little bit, because I might get turned around on some bits. We're going to listen to a little bit of the blues, because I want to see what you think of this.
Okay.
Charnat Melford sounds great.
Now, why do you object to this? You don't like the blues?
It's just, it makes...
You don't like bass?
I love the blues. I love bass.
You don't love trumpet? You hate
I don't
wind?
like where it's placed on the record, and it has nothing to do with the record.
You felt like you could do this better? Is that why you don't like it?
No, but... and this is not like great Wynton playing like you'd had on the rest of the record. I mean, yeah, technically it's great. Okay. That's a Miles phrase. You're not stank facing like you did on the other songs. Okay, I gave it a little snake face. You got 3 more minutes of this, just to let you know. Circular breathing.
I don't know, man.
Okay, it's great playing. I didn't say it wasn't great playing. As to me, it's about the what are you looking around for? Let's just listen to a little Chambers at 10. I felt like it should have ended at this. This is what I mean. If this had been the beginning of a new record, doing some duos or leading to something, maybe. But it's about the placement.
Okay,
It doesn't make any
okay.
sense. It doesn't. Of course, it makes sense. I mean, they're playing great. Burnout Blood? I mean, like, this is ushering in a whole era of playing in a certain way. Uh-oh. Check it out.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's so good. Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
I get you.
And then check it out. So you're coming to here. This is the end of the record. Okay, incredible Jeff Watts solo at the end.
Damn.
Like, this was an influential solo. Hear that reverb on the toms? Woo! They're playing that melody. Here we go.
now just let me play devil's advocate. Keep it going.
Okay. Is he going to go right in?
Credits start rolling. You know what I mean?
And everybody leaves the theater. Yeah. That doesn't...
What do we talk about with sequencing before? We talked about, keep it going, keep it going. This is
I
a
feel
great way
bad
for us to
now.
go out, too. No.
Okay.
As far as like, this is what you want your audience to leave with. This is sort of like your closing statement on the album. I get some flack sometimes for my own programming when
Yeah.
I like to end with on the downside. Like, I like a downer of an ending. I like a ballad as an ender.
Yeah. I'm not saying you can't do that.
Not everybody likes it. In fact, most people prefer what you were just saying. But I get it.
But that could have been one of the
other.
other. To me, it's not that it's ending down. It's just that it doesn't fit in with the rest of the program. But that's also because this is a very high level artistic statement, I think. And, even the slightest kind of thing is going to be like if it's just an average record, you can kind of get away with a lot of different things. So it's not, it's not as big of a deal as I'm making this. You got me cornered.
Right, so
You've got me in the corner.
Hold on. I just want to write a note. PM doesn't like a blues. Okay. Good to know.
I love the blues. Wynton is playing incredibly on this, sir. Okay.
Okay. Let's
add up.
Is it better than KOB?
Ooh.
I have an 8.
What is KOB?
A 9. I think it's A tier.
For sure A tier. Is that what 8 is?
I'm not sure if it's S tier. It might be S tier.
What oh my God. Okay, I'm gonna go 8. I don't know that it's that close to KOB, but it's damn good. There's a lot of great things happening. So I'm going 8.
It's pretty close.
Should we add up?
Let's add up.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go first.
Okay.
My score
Yes.
is an 84. Favorite track is Chambers of Tame.
Nice.
Yeah.
My score is an 85. Ooh. We're right in there. Favorite track, Frizinian Man.
I love it, Peter. I think once again, our foolproof system has come through.
Yeah.
And now
think so.
many, many people, scores of people are going to disagree with us. If you disagree with us, please put it in the comments.
Yeah, drop what your score is.
We're idiots.
No, it doesn't have to be about that.
If your last name happens to be Marsalis, we will weight your comments a lot heavier.
That's right. We'll keep that for another day. The lengthy conversation I actually had with Wynton about 20 years ago, specifically about this record and his feelings. So I didn't even want to bring that up because we had a very heated discussion about this record.
Really?
Yes. Okay. But I didn't want that to cloud my judgment. I wanted just to be my opinion of this record. And I kind of feel weird about that score in a way because this is, I don't know why it's not in the 90s. I just tried to react. I love this record. It was super lit. Maybe I overreacted a little. I underscored.
Overcompensated,
overcompensated or something like that. I could just say that this is a fantastic record. And if any of this stuff resonated with you, what's really exciting is maybe some of you have never heard this record.
I know.
And to be able to go and dig into this, I think you'll be delighted.
This could definitely be one that people are discovering.
Yeah. And some points probably should be given it, or there should be understanding. Whenever you come up with a record at sort of a pivotal time in the industries, the technology of the industry. So this was at the beginning of digital recording, right? Compact discs. Like you talk about when the first records went from short playing, 33s? 78s to 33s, where the track length could be longer. Like that affects the music and stuff. And there's always a little bit of an awkward transition there. Where you might get things like, the track needs to be a little longer. We need to add something. Who knows?
And then there's the Pro Tools revolution that happened.
Right. All these things have, and that's why we try
around this time, but really ubiquitously through the 90s.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but one thing is it definitely stands the test of time. It's an exhilarating record. The playing, Kenny Kirkland, everybody. It's just, it's really a cool record. So.
I love it, Peter.
Yeah,
man. This is
man.
a great series. Well, next time we got to do... Maybe we hit something from the 90s next time, or maybe, I don't know. Is there a decade we haven't hit? Have we hit the 70s?
The 2020s.
Should we hit the 2020s?
I can think of some things.
Okay.
Till next time.
You'll hear it.
2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4.